industry. The main aim is to draw in best practices and expertise to identify challenges related to quality and productivity faced by the Indian industry, with the view to promote the vision of vocal for local and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Today, we shall be deliberating on audio and visual services. In terms of audio and visual export, India is ranked fourth in the world. The industry has largely been driven by increasing digitization and higher internet usage over the last decade. Due to the global pandemic, the internet has almost become a mainstream media for entertainment for most of the people. Indian media and entertainment industry accounts for 1% for India's GDP in direct terms alone and is poised to continue a strong double-digit growth in coming years. So before we begin, I would like to roll out few points to keep the house in order. First, I request all the participants to turn off their video and stay muted till the end of the discussion to avoid any disturbances while the panelists are speaking. If you have any question, you may write it in the chat box. The speakers are we shall be up later in the Q&A session. The speakers are requested to switch on their camera while they speak. Today, we are extremely honored to have Mrs. Sangeeta Saxena with us. She is an officer of the Indian Economic Service of 2001 batch and currently posted as Director of Department of Commerce, Government of India. So before joining Commerce, she has served in Ministry of Textiles, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise and Ministry of Finance. I request you, ma'am, to set the tone and context for the deliberation.
Thank you, Ritupurna, and very warm welcome to all the panelists and all the participants in this webinar on the quality and productivity aspects of various champion services sector. So as you would be aware, that Department of Commerce has rolled out the Champion Services Sector Scheme. So this is a scheme which spans 12 identified sectors for focused attention. And it's not just, it was not just IT or it was not just tourism, but we also included sectors which have till now had a large foreign exchange earning component and potential to earn foreign exchange, and then to develop those potential, what can be the various ways out. So there is a financial component to this scheme, and we have the Ministry of INB representative who's handling the scheme. And apart from this is a very important component of these identified sectors. So now one of the cross-cutting reforms across these 12 sectors has been that of having standards and improving the quality of our services. Now, when we took up this internal exercise of trying to find what are the standards which are available, I must tell the House that services standards are very few. Correct me if I'm wrong from the BIS, but I think we have more than 22,000 ISO standards, out of which the services standards are only 700 odd, which means that the focus has not been on standardizing services. It has been more on the manufacturing side. There are some reasons for it. It lends itself better to standardization rather than the services. Nevertheless, it's important for us to standardize services. And this initiative, which we started with under the Champion Services Sector Scheme, has been carried forward by all the stakeholders, including the BIS. And we have the chairman of the BIS Sectional Committee on Media and Entertainment Services, Mr. Sandeep Marga, amongst us. And the committee has already charted out a plan, a roadmap, a strategy for the audio sector. But it's not as if the strategy is cast in stone. In fact, it's a dynamic process where we learn from the industry and we come forward with the standards which we propose. So we look forward to a lot of the recommendations which are coming out of today's discussion, and that will feed into the standards making process. But standards is part of the entire vertical, and we also have the other aspects and constituents of the quality ecosystem, where we have the certification mechanism, we also have the accreditation mechanism. So these are also aspects, and I would look forward to comments on these aspects from the panelists. Apart from this, we also realize that the entire process of audio-visual services is a very creative process, which does not lend itself very easily to standardization, because that would be, exact opposite of the creativity which is flowing in the sector. Nevertheless, I believe that perhaps the creativity part is the last mile part. There are some basic processes which can be standardized, and we need to find that out, and then move forward so that we are able to not only follow if there are any industry standards or standards elsewhere in the world, we are also able to take the leadership as far as standard setting in some of the verticals of audiovisual services is concerned. So I won't take much of your time. I would be more interested in listening to the panel have to say. So thank you so much for this opportunity to say next.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the opening remarks. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am, thank you so much for your opening remarks. Now, as we proceed, I would request Mr. Ashish Kulkarni to take over from here as session moderator. Mr. Ashish is the chairman of the Animation, VFX, Gaming and Comics AVGC Forum at FICCI and MCCIA, and has been persistently visual effects, gamings, and comics policymakers in India at central and state levels. He is also the founder of Punaryug Art Vision Private Limited and Screen Yug Creation Private Limited. Over to you, sir. You may take it from here.
Thank you so very much, Rituparna.
Thank you.
At the same time, thank you very much, Sangeeta madam, for setting the tone. We would like to see that we keep most of our discussion around the quality and productivity as far as audiovisual sector is concerned. So I would request speakers to be crisp, and we ensure that we actually take this to a very powerful and a power-packed session. Having said that, it actually gives me a great pleasure in welcoming you to the Udyog Manthan on audiovisual services. And we have an eminent panel, which is comprising of Mr. Dilip Singh Rathod-ji. Dilip ji, welcome to the panel. At the same time, we have Hirachan ji. He's actually our SCPC guy. We keep going to him. Hirachan ji, welcome again. We also have Jayesh Krishnamurthy. Jayesh, you need to give us your darshan also. So switch on your camera. Because we like that creative look, and you are one of those creative guys on our panel with the visual effects experience. So please switch it on and give those effects on the camera as well. At the same time, we have Mr. Manvendra Shukla. We work very closely on the gaming sector with Manvin, and also at the Media and Entertainment Skill Council. We have Mr. Munjal Sharaf, of course, a very eminent guy in our animation visual effects industry. At the same time, also a big contributor to the Media and Entertainment Skill Council. Welcome, Munjal. And then we have a very bright personality and one of the most experienced personality called Mr. Sandeep Marwa. In fact, Sandeep ji, we all have learned a lot from you. You actually have a 360-degree approach to a large number of things, right from education to the production, pre-production, to the post-production, and the final product. So we would love to hear from you. And today's world, we cannot do without, the technology. Most of our productivity actually depends on the right kind of a technology that we use and right kind of platforms that we actually deploy. And basically, to throw a large amount of insights on that, we have Mr. Samir Pitalwala from Epic, and we all in our studios are actually using his technology. And what can actually happen if you actually are, moving out of your own locations and going to different locations in the country. At the same time, many of these foreign producers want to come in and want to set their production in India. What is the single window that they can approach? And of course, it was missing for the longest period of time. But then we had Mr. Vikramjit Roy, who is our man for Film Facilitation Office at NFDC. And we just had a very wonderful session for IFFI Goa, where he was a moderator. And welcome, Vikram, to the panel. And with this panel, I believe we would have a very strong deliberations. So to start with, exactly as we have a total of 1 hour and 10 minutes now, so we need to really utilize our time in the right way. I would suggest that if you can actually put your first round of thoughts on productivity as well as the quality of all our productions that we do in different verticals that we are going to talk about. If we can keep it to around 5 to 7 minutes max, and each speaker, and then we jot down these points, and then I'm going to come back to you with very definitive questions. So we definitely start with the same order that I introduced. So can I have Dilip Singh Rathorji please make your remarks on this topic?
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be on this panel and share my views. First of all, I must start with thanking with the continuous effort of Film Facilitation Office, NFDC and INB Ministry and Government of India to really make the difference in creating the real ease of shooting in India. I've been in this business for last 28 years, and I've done many films. And my main business is bringing international productions to India. We bring from Batman to Tenet to Way Back, all these kind of big films, which needs great government support. And without government support, these films are very difficult. And for a long time, there was a impression with international filmmakers that going to India is like a black hole. We don't know what's going to happen, how we're going to get the permissions, whether the government is going to support or not. And so I've seen it all for so many years. And I see the difference now. Earlier, to get the visas or clearances, what was a nightmare. There was a journalist visa, which was a nightmare, and people didn't know whether the film people are coming to shoot a film or it's for the journalist visa or business visa or whatever. So I've seen the difference in last so many years, and I must say that what I see in last 3, 4 years, 5 years is a great change, thanks to, again, the FF office, NFDC. And my last experience, I was shooting a film actually in Bombay in 2019, and I've always been involved with big studios like Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, and brought many of those studios on those trips to introduce India as the destination to bring those larger productions. These large productions have been going to countries like Canada, South Africa, England, even South America, whatever. Bringing those productions to India was very difficult. There was no clear policy. There was no single window. There was no transparency in getting the permissions, navigation through the system. There was zero government support earlier. But I must say, in my last experience in 2019, when I brought Tenet from Warner Brothers, we were trying to bring Shantaram as well, that time with Peter Weir. And the things I faced that time, there was day and night difference. I brought Batman Dark Knight Rises as well in Jodhpur. We could not even fly a helicopter with all the permission possible we had. And people were not giving the permissions on time. I was taking multiple trips to Delhi to get the permission. Nobody could even understand how important the time for the filmmaker is. But again, thanks to NFDC, FFO, which really understood the need for the filmmaker, especially the international filmmaker who comes in a particular timeline, that he comes with, dedicated crew, timeline, and to achieve everything what the director needs. And so much of money is involved. We really made a planned strategy with Mr. Vikramjit Roy and Sunita ji, and their office is amazing. They not only simply trying to help, but they had a strategy in mind to how to really navigate through the system and make this as a case study for the other films to come, that this film becomes successful. we got all the permissions on time. We had like almost 220 foreign crew coming on that. So you can imagine how difficult the visa situation was and how complicated to get the visas from US and UK and different countries, because we were shooting in multiple countries. And so all the streamlining of the visas, coordination with the local authorities, Maharashtra government, I must say thank you to Maharashtra government as well. Without their help and proper timely manner permission, it was not possible to host such a large production, shutting down the streets, blocking Gateway of India for the shooting, and planning in a way that people don't get disturbed and we still achieve what we want to. We had to get the gun permissions for the fake guns and rear guns for the shoot. We had the helicopter, which was a nightmare. First time in the history, because of the help of FF office, we could get it was impossible task that we could get the helicopter. First time film, Christopher Nolan was so happy that he shot, because he was the director on Dark Knight Rises as well. And with all the permissions, we could not even, we got the helicopter, we could not shoot with the helicopter because there was some complication and government didn't understand what the permission, and they had a liaison office and stuff. We got that. We got the permission from Navy, police, traffic, coordinating with the planning of all the vanity vans, because we had a crew of almost 1,600 people. So all these larger productions, if we talk about the quality, if we talk about this bringing this large production who brings so much of revenue, so much of employment, so much of finance to this country, we definitely need to talk about the quality of coordination with the government authorities, the process system, the visas, the permissions, the local coordination with the authorities. It is impossible without that. And without, when we came with this production, Mr. Roy took us to the MD Film City. She understood the magnitude of the project, and she conveyed the message to all the government departments, sent to Mr. Joint Secretary, Chief Secretary that time, Mr. Gagrani. He got the entire authorities, all the relevant agencies in one room to convey the message that how important this film is to make this happen. Otherwise, it's going to look bad for the country. So it was organized. It was so well organized, and in a timely manner, in a properly planned manner, so that we could achieve all this. So bringing any of this kind of big production is impossible without the help of the government and make the quality improve. So I mean, other points I'm but we'll talk about them later. But
so
thank you,
Dilip, sir. One of my critical questions that when you bring these foreign productions to India, I'm sure that they would be hiring a lot of crew members from India itself. So what is the satisfaction level of these producers when they work with the Indian crew?
Oh, Indian crew is fantastic. I'm again, when I'm talking about 15 years back, we used to bring a lot more foreign crew from abroad. And because our crews were not I'm talking about 20 years back, I was shooting for Queenie and Deceivers and all. Even we were bringing the catering vans from London, and we would have the caterers. Now we don't. The satisfaction level, we have the best grip, we have the best gaffers, we have the best technicians here. So we had a full support team, depend how large the production is. If you are shooting in multiple countries, then of course that crew travels with the unit. But if we are just coming and only shooting in one country, our crews are, and Sanjay Sami is one of our key grip. Wes Anderson, he takes him to different other countries to do his film. So our crew is at the par with international level. So they are very, very happy. Christopher Nolan, if you see the latest article, he said he was so happy to shoot in India, and FF office made it so successful that he wants to come back to India to shoot his film.
Thanks a lot. In fact, it gives us quite a lot of satisfaction to know. Of course, we knew Vikram and team are doing extremely well, but we would be a little more demanding, and I will put my demands to you a little later, because we are just not satisfied with shoots. We want to do the post-production and visual effects as well. But I'll come to that a little later. But we have next in line is Hirachandji. In fact, Hirachandji is also associated with us in the SEPC, Services Export Promotion Council, and he actually, lead manages a lot of activity we do at SEPC, and our industry has immensely benefited ever since all this leadership actually has come there, and especially many studios have actually gone and took a benefit of all the schemes that we have in SAPC. I would definitely like to welcome Hirachandji to make his points, and then I have very pertinent questions for you, Hirachandji. Please unmute yourself before you start, sir, and we are really eager to listen to you, sir.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Good evening to all of you. I'm very happy to be the part of Udyog Manthan Audio Visual Service, this webinar today. I'm very happy to learn a lot of things from Mr. Dilip, that today for any foreign producer, it is very easy to come to India and to do the shoot, and the required facilities are available here. Now here to increase it more effectively, I think we should have more training schools here for crews, for other facilities to the foreign companies who are coming to shoot here. That will improve the quality also for our services. People will be more happy. Dilip ji has already told that today the producers are happy with our crew members, local crew members. But if they are trained more, and we need more so that more people can come here and more people can shoot. This will definitely give boost up in various ways. Tourism, then our other hotel industries, plus our equipments will be used and lot of work can be passed on to our local studios also. I know a couple of producers who have done a lot of production here. See, animation they are doing here. VFX they are doing. But a lot of other production activities also they are doing now here. And if the proper things are given to them, they will definitely come. More and more producers will come. Secondly, I feel that to encourage them to come here, some sort of subsidy should be given by the government. Like anywhere you go for shooting, apart from quality, as a producer, we are always looking what Fiji is giving, what London is giving to me, or what Mauritius is giving. And that kind of facilities also should be available in India. So Ashish, I'll finish my statement here and I'll listen to other people and then we'll talk later on. Thank you. You are muted. Ashish, you are muted.
Sorry. I have a couple of questions for you. When we actually take most of our delegations of Indian studios through SCPC, we have gone and taken Indian Pavilion through SCPC, where a large number of people benefited. In terms of the pitch for quality of productions that happen in India, what is your actual pitch, and whether you got any of the complaints on the productivity ever, because you are in the Export Promotion Council, and I know a lot of people have signed a large amount of shows as services, and according to us, more than 90% of them have delivered in time. And there had been some issues when the COVID was there. But what is the quality pitch that you do, and whether you hear anything about the productivity? You're on mute, sir. Hirachandji, you're on.
Sorry. Majority of the products are delivered on time.
Yeah.
And technical issues are not much, which will restrict them to come to India again. They are looking two things. One, they are looking is quality. One, they are looking for the price. Price factor is also very important because we are competing with a lot of other countries in Asia. So that's why from SCPC, we are always requesting Ministry of Commerce also to give some support to the industry, to the studios.
So in terms of the quality and the pricing, of course, the cost arbitrage at one point in time was very strongly in support of India. But it is said in the last couple of decades, and I think Jayesh is going to be next in line. So this question would be pertinent to him as well, because he does a large number of work for outside studios. The cost arbitrage definitely shifted from India somewhere in the middle, but people who wanted a delivery in terms of right quality stayed with India, and people were only wanting to look at a cost arbitrage moved out of India to some of the other competing countries. So how do we actually bring that balance, Hirachandji?
No, sir, I believe that people are looking for both together. They want quality and price both. Like now, a lot of other studios are coming up in Philippines also very shortly. They'll be competing with us. China is competing with us. Malaysia, a lot of studios are doing good animation work, VFX work, and they are giving us full competition.
Yeah.
They are getting good subsidy. And that's why we will need some support of government, for which from SCPC we are trying.
Okay, so the sustenance would come from the incentives and the support that would come from.
Some support we need. Apart from the quality and our skill, we need some support also to compete in international market.
Thank you very much, Hirachandji. I would definitely come back to you because we have a couple of more questions for you.
Yes.
But the next person that we are going to talk to is, one of my colleagues in Pune itself, and we both moved to Pune at the same time. And that time there was no animation in Pune at all, and neither VFX. So Jayesh came with VFX, and I came with animation at the same time in 2007, 6 and 7 actually. But Jayesh's experience is phenomenal because he worked with several Hollywood studios. He came back to India and started a studio here and actually did a lot of work with multiple countries. And many of these countries were brought to India to outsource for the very first time. And I think that was a uniqueness that Jayesh brought in. Not only people looked at the US, but looked at many other countries, and Jayesh was a front runner in that. How did you pitch for the quality, and how did you scale on the productivity when I definitely know that there were no good schools at one point in time, and productivity was a great issue, where you decided to start your own school and get kids to the tune of giving the right productivity. So can you please tell us about how you improved it and what should be done for the future as far as quality and productivity is concerned?
Namaste, everybody. Real pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ashish, Sangeeta ji. It's an honor. I think that, when I look back at the last, I've been in the industry 15 years. 15 years I was abroad, and 15 years I've been in India now. So I have divided my time equally in that time. The first 15 years, I just spent working on my skill sets, learning the business, learning the art of visual effects, the art of animation, and really that first 15-year phase was truly what helped me come back to India, and I wanted to come back to India and do something here. I think when we talk about quality, when we talk about efficiency, when we talk about all of this stuff, I think what is really important is the quality of the people that we create, and that has been the biggest learning for me, because being a small Indian studio, when I was 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, when there were 1,000 people companies around me, it was very hard to scale up at that level. Because we were always competing for talent, and what a big company could do was overnight come and take 20 people, and they'd be gone. They'd be gone because we couldn't afford to double the salary overnight, which many of these companies could. So to tackle that problem, what I started to do was I created a school. Where we said, let's train our talent, because India just doesn't need these 1 or 2 studios. India needs 100 studios. There's so much content that we as Indians consume, that I felt that instead of trying to play the numbers game or the poaching game, I started to train people. And one of the things that I realized was that I would take people blindly. I wouldn't ask them that, are you qualified or not qualified? I would just ask them, hey, do you have the heart for this? Do you have the hunger for this? And I found these young kids who were children of Malis, or children of a bricklayer, or an auto rickshaw driver, or a bai who works in someone's home. I started to hear of all these people through my friends saying, hey, you know what? We know somebody. We know a young kid. He's only 19 or 20 or whatever it is. He's dropped out of college. And I am also a college dropout. So I realized very early on that that was not the criteria for success. And so I took a chance on so many young people who had the hunger, came from very, very low economic backgrounds, started with me at 5,000, 6,000 rupees. We trained them. So initially, I was actually paying people to train them, and that's how we were taking people in. But then we started to run a school. Running the school is what helped me scale up, because I was able to create talent that I wanted at the quality level I wanted, and also give the right training early on to a person, rather than them being trained in a lot of these schools and then they would come to our facility and they weren't able to perform because the basics weren't strong. So I think that over the years, the only thing I focused on is really teaching the basics really, really well. And I think quality is something that is, although we Indians have forgotten, but quality is inherent in us. We've built incredible stuff at incredible quality, which we're not able to replicate today because our belief is not there in ourselves. So the biggest part of my education, or imparting this belief, was really imparting belief in our artists and saying, hey, you know what? You just practice your skill set, give it 5 years, give it 10 years, and you're going to be able to compete with the best. And today, I think if you look at India, whether we look at animation or whether we look at VFX, we are competing on the top level. Yeah, and today Netflix, recently we signed some amazing partnerships with Netflix, which again highlights the fact that this Indian industry is really coming of age in all forms of digital content creation. And I think that if there is any time for us to be able to springboard on the hard work that so many, I mean, Ashish is one of them. Munjal, I see here, Manvendra, all these people that we've known, who've been in it. I think the timing is so perfect at this point for us to catapult, but also it's tricky because price is becoming a problem. But I think that the more and more we're able to push our studios into smaller cities, because I don't see why we can't do that. I think the time is also upon us now to consider other cities other than just these big centers, because all of my talent comes from these small towns or even villages in many instances. But there is infrastructure problems, power issues, internet issues, which come in the way. So I think there's a lot that we can all do now and create, because I think all eyes are now on India, and I think that even for a Philippines, or especially in VFX, and I think whether it's gaming or animation, I think the West is still very interested in India, and it is most interested in India, actually more than any other place at this point. So yeah, there are competitors. Even Eastern Europe is a competitor today, and I can hire people today cheaper than in India from there, freelancers. So price is a concern. So I think moving to smaller towns, I have so much confidence that our small town kids are ready for this, and they just don't have the exposure, they don't have the opportunity. So there's a lot of work in building confidence, in building belief, in training, in skill sets, that I think will really stand us in good stead over the next number of decades. I feel we're a powerhouse in the making, and we've got to now really take that opportunity.
So Jayesh, in terms of quality, I know for sure that whether it was best of the visual effects films that we saw on Oscars or anywhere else,
yes,
you guys have been a part of it, and India actually in the last 2 decades have delivered most of these films. If you see the credits, the Indian studios are definitely there, the Indian artists are very much there. I would like to know from you in terms of scaling in getting the right kind of productivity. There was nobody who came and trained us Indians. We actually learned on the job, and we also learned, delivering these kind of shows our own way. Because I remember in 1999, 2000, 2001. We used to bring Disney, Warner Brother, DreamWorks, and Sony, and they used to say, Ashish, you show us the studios, but India is not ready. Till such time we started signing shows with them, and then I myself delivered shows for all these 4 majors. But in terms of productivity, there was no training at all. How did you really manage to put the right production pipeline so that you get the right kind of productivity? Was Indian IT skills very important for you to set that pipeline and getting that thing to God?
I think that we made so many mistakes, Ashish. We just made mistake after mistake, and that was great because I think that it was, as you said, we learned on the shows, and we had nowhere to go to. So you'd get this show and you wouldn't know how to do it, and I think what India has is heart, more than IT and more than anything else. What we have is heart, and when you have heart, then you have ways of maneuvering and moving things in a way that no other country that I have seen can, because when we decide to get together, we can really, I mean, you saw the cricket game today, right? A bunch of rookies come in and so I think a lot of what we have done, a lot of what you have done, a lot of what everybody here has done is just have a lot of heart. And now the tide is kind of moving into, we have the luxury of also having the best IT power in the world, the people who understand IT at a level, but I still feel we haven't exploited that as yet because we're still cracking the creative paradigm. But I think I would love to see more incentives given to R&D in our field because the top companies in the world are using our talent to develop their softwares, so it's not that we don't have the talent pools, but we don't have a lot of this requires R&D. I think the quality for me, Ashish, to answer your question, I divided my work into technical and creative. I was very clear कि कौन सी चीज technical है, leave it to technical processes. So if you look at a job, you'll have 20% of a job will be highly creative, very difficult to do, but highly creative. The rest of it, I could somehow turn it into a pipeline, and say, okay, A plus B plus C plus D will give me this. And on top of that, I put some cream and get it out. So we had to mold our practices and our processes based on an Indian mentality, which is very different from a Western artist. And that's something it took me a while to realize how Indians work. So I think over the years, we've tried to bring in humanness into a pipeline, Indian humanness, Indian ways of approaching things. And I've moved more and more away from Western principles of management to even more humane Indian ways of managing people, So I think that basically it's just innovating everything. And once you put quality as something higher than you, for me, my work is higher than me. I'm a servant to my art. And then when you give it that position that is above you, I think quality is about reminding people that we're creating something much bigger than us, and giving them a dream and giving them all those human quests. But we've had to develop, and I'm sure you know this better than most, is develop our own ways to create quality out of the talent that we have. Because what we have is raw talent. We just have such great raw talent. And then you need a few people who know how to polish that,
Yeah, so I want to bring this one quick last question before I come back to you again. There had been times when we both set up studios and we were delivering something world-class. Like when I created Little Krishna, I realized that we have never created that quality of pre-production. So I brought in a director of Spider-Man to my studio for 3 years with his family to train our guys. Was these instances with you that there were certain skills which you realized were not there in your pipeline, and you brought people from outside, and today we have reached a stage where we don't obviously need to bring that kind of a talent? Is that a situation?
Absolutely. I think the advantage that we had was I was the expert in the facility because I had worked outside. I'd done this day in and day out for 15 years. So I think that's where I was able to build the facility up to a certain point. And then as the scale grew, I realized, okay, I can't do. There was new technology coming out, new ideas coming out, different ways of doing. And I would say it took me about 7-8 years to even be able to afford somebody from abroad. Ashish, or close to that amount of time. So it took me time to say take that financial decision, because those salaries are pretty high. And so yeah, I think where for me the biggest talent has been that we have gotten our people with creature experience. They know how to make creatures look amazing, or supervisors who just knew what a big director like Nolan wants, or an Ang Lee wants. So level, not only did it help us get hit those benchmarks, it also helped Indians realized that they already had those
We are missing you, Jesh.
that these Westerners were bringing.
Yeah.
I think, can you hear me?
Yeah, we just missed you for a last couple of sentences.
Yeah, I think when so high-end visual effects supervisors were very necessary for us at a certain point, and then as the Indian artists became confident of delivering to that level, they would say we don't want anybody from abroad to supervise us. We think we can hit the mark, and they began to hit the mark. I didn't care if my artist knew English or not. I would just put them in front of an American or a British or whatever and say talk. And in their broken English and broken whatever, they would talk and communicate. So I think it was just giving our people confidence and giving them people to look up to, and also make them realize that, hey, you know what, I have done this now for 15 years. I actually know a lot, and then have them trust themselves. I think the main thing is trusting themselves, and that's the one thing that I think that I have always tried to inculcate is just trust. Even if it's a mistake, it doesn't matter, but trust yourself, and take a decision. Yeah.
Jesh, so much. In fact, quite a a grounded kind of real talk that you did in terms of productivity. I know that you're pushing R&D really strongly, and it has come through in the last so many talks that we had. And I think finding a playing field through National Education Policy 2020 for the creative performing arts and design into the school and college ecosystem, and that would actually further grow into R&D into our space. So I think that's where we need to all focus, and I think it's going to be a game changer no sooner we start investing into R&D and creating the right kind of positioning for quality and productivity for Indian deliveries in audiovisual. Thank you very much. And moving forward, we all know that we all love playing games. And if anything that we have seen in the last 9 months, we have been completely impacted by a large amount of game growth that happened in the country. So much so that even the IPL this year was sponsored by a gaming company, and it was quite a feather in the cap of the media and entertainment space that you have a homegrown gaming company now sponsoring IPL, which people couldn't think of in one point in time, but it engages people so intensely. And the next person that we have in Manan Ashok is one of the pioneers, and the way he has groomed a large amount of talent in multiple cities, also has grown his relationship in multiple countries. And one of the things that I would like to tell you is he actually has shown that how relationships with many of these studios over the number of years bring in consistency in what you create. And the partners that he has internationally, where from Japan or from the US or any other place, believe in working with him constantly. I think just because he not only delivered quality, he gave them the right pricing and also gave the right kind of productivity. And we would like to really see, because we believe in 2020, we have around 45 to 55,000 hardcore direct employees in the gaming sector, which we anticipate would grow to almost 20 times, maybe around 10 lakh people in 2030, is what our estimation is. And because the gaming segment is the only segment which is growing exponentially in under the AVGC, and now we have a person who has delivered it for more than 2 decades now. So Manven, please tell us what the gaming story is. How can we build quality and productivity both for the future? Because our task and the benchmarks that have been defined for ourselves to grow this industry 20 times more and to have more than 5% market share in the global market in the next 10 years is a big task. And the quality, productivity, both are going to matter. So please tell us how are we going to do it?
Namaskar, everybody. It's it's really nice to be on this panel because you get to hear so many experts and veterans who have really brought literally the whole globe to India in different spheres of entertainment and media. Now, in case of gaming, I think compared to all the other different mediums that we have, it's the most nascent one, the most new, and that being new on the block always has its own challenges. So, to my mind, if you look at it, if you talk about quality is about two things. One, which Jayesh also talked, and in fact, Jayesh and mine, we are good friends for a very long time, and our journeys are very similar. Because quality for us means talent, because it's the quality of your artist who really can, whether it's artists or designers or engineers, is the quality of the people and their knowledge and expertise is what brings quality to the table. That's one. But if you're new to the industry, what you're doing is you're trying to compete with the quality of the Western world and the countries like Japan, which have been doing this for 40, 50, 60 years. So let's understand that they have learned about quality over the period of 50 years, 60 years. And now we are there. We have been around for just 15, 20 years, maybe 20 on the maximum. And we have to compete. We have to understand, first of all, what those levels are. So the second aspect of quality from my perspective is understanding what quality is. Having the understanding of what will be expected, where will the quality be expected to be? What is it that will still be expected as a good quality product? That understanding itself is one of the key things when you talk about maintaining quality, producing quality, or delivering quality. And so you need to have people who are skilled at a certain level of quality, and then and the same skills need to understand what the benchmarks of quality are. And when you're starting something like in 15 years back, 18 years back, when we actually, I've been in the industry for more than 20 years, but I started my company about 17 years back, Lakshya Digital. And when I started that was exactly the challenge I had. We started with just 6 people, 6 very talented people, but they were not game people. They were not game veterans or a game specialist. I come from before that I was into animation, and also that's where the background they came from. So we had to learn that quality. We had to learn and understand those skills. So there are 2 ways of doing it. Either you make mistakes, spend 10, 15, 20 years making mistakes, learning from mistakes, then moving on. That's one way of doing it. But that's not that's not the luxury you normally have when you're getting into a business or you're trying to create something which you want to move on with. What you do is you try and create a shortcut to that quality. How do you do that? What we did, in fact, was we brought in experts from US, very senior art directors, animation directors. They came and worked with us and trained our people for some time. And we said, okay, for the first 2 years, 3 years, we will not even look at the business. We just focus on training, because that is the most important thing. And while they were working with us, one thing was they trained us. Second thing is they also told us, what does quality mean? I may have great skills, but using those skills, where do I need to reach? Now, that is something which defines quality of production. That I understand that using my skills, which are great, I'm assuming that that's basically what one wants them to be. I need to be here. And that understanding is equally critical. So, Ashi, you said that we have been, yes, we have been, working with a lot of overseas companies and clients. And if you look at the in the last couple of years, if you look at the top 20 games, we would have worked on at least 12, 14 of them. What does that imply? What it implies is once you have broken the first two, I would say the first two most important and critical problems and barriers. India as a country, India as a team of artists and animators has the wherewithal, has the basic qualifications. I wouldn't say qualifications don't really matter. The basic skills to deliver at that level. And that is what really defines your production qualities, where you train people. So we had the same problems that Jesh had. You want to scale, but you can't because you don't have people. So we also did exactly what Jesh did. We set up our own school because the training is something which defines what are your abilities going to be as an organization. So we had our own school. We trained people. And same thing as again, I'm just repeating what Jesh said. Your degrees and certificates didn't matter. What mattered was, do you have the mindset and the skill to do something? Do you have the talent? Tools we can teach you. We can train you on tools. That is not a problem. But what is important is, do we need to? What is the level we have to train you in terms of production? That is the knowledge you need to have. And now, which is the next biggest problem that gaming as an industry is facing today, and which we have to find a solution to, which basically reflects on quality, is scaling. It's great to have, we have 800 people, but great to have 800 people who are trained and all, but is that what the world needs? Is that what we can deliver? Is that something which the country is capable of? No. We are capable of 20, 30, 40, 50 times more than that. But then how do you scale? That is the biggest problem that we have to deal with. How do you scale without compromising on quality? That is a bigger challenge that we have. And again, to do that, we can again spend 10 years, 15 years doing that and learn to scale and do all those good things and reach a large number of people. But that's not the time we want to spend on this. Again, there are a couple of things we have to look at if you really want to make sure that as an industry, as a medium, as a skill industry, we create that shortcut. It's all about creating a shortcut to what experience is. And yes, it will not be perfect, but it is the next really good thing, really next best thing, which is we invite large studios, global studios, give them incentives, give them reasons to come up and set up their shops here, set up the development studios here. That is something which will make sure that they bring in the expertise, they bring in the experience to create products. We are talking about creating products, and our teams are the current development teams that we have, very nice, very good teams, very talented teams. But again, what they miss is the vision of quality. And that vision of quality, that benchmark of quality, has to be established by people who come in, set up the studios. What will they do? They will not bring their 1,000 people from outside. They will pick up the talent that they have here, which we have in abundance, whether it's art, animation, their design, engineering, anything. They'll pick that talent up and take it to the next level where they need that talent to be. And that is how the industry will grow. And that's how the industry will grow in a consistent, sustained quality. And that is what we have to drive. And that's one thing. Second thing we should do is we have to look at how we can incentivize our local development teams. Give them grants, give them whatever support they need so that they can hire talent from outside, senior talent, experienced talent, bring them here. What are we doing when we do that? We are exposing them to the real quality which is expected. Now, these are things quality, I think the only one thing which will make or break this industry. I can only talk about gaming, and the same thing will be true in all the industries that we're talking about. The only thing which will drive it, the only thing which will destroy it, is if you don't deliver quality. Yes, pricing is very critical, but that's secondary. Tackle that quality barrier, and not just quality, but quality which is scalable. These are two things we have to worry about. We have to really find some means to do that. We have to find ways of doing that, deliver quality and create mechanism for scaling that quality. And training and all that all these things, good things will become part of it. Thank you.
So Manvin, one quick question to you. In fact, while you were delivering a lot of console gaming, which was not played in India, how difficult it was to deliver right kind of a quality for a console when people don't play console games in India.
So, like I said, Ashish, it is important that you understand quality. That's the most important thing. And what we did was obviously training. Fortunately, we have studios in UK, Japan, US, a couple of China, and everywhere. I should be using the word China. Anyway, so we had that advantage. We had veterans who have done that, been in the industry for 20, 25 years. They know quality. So we got them to India, and they were the ones who were not even today, but in some time back also, they were spearheading the understanding. They're spearheading that learning. So it's, again, what I just said some time back, it is not just the skills. It is making those skilled people understand what is the benchmark of quality, what is the expectation of quality. So that is what we focused on, teaching our kids here. Maybe I would say, take an example of 5 years back, we were about 300-400 people, and we had a team of about 50, maybe almost 80 or 85 expats who were really working, who were busy training them. Today we have a team of 800, and that team of 80 has come down to about 30 or 35, which means now our own people are getting skilled enough that you need less support, and that is how things, you replicate things. Now, when you add another 300 people, the same people that who have learned and experienced in the past 15 years, they'll train more people.
Yeah, in fact, one of the big examples of what has happened, the things that you are saying is, we need to learn from how Peter Jackson actually moved from Los Angeles to Wellington in New Zealand to create Weta Studio with 200 smart professionals and hired rest of the 1,000 people from there. Today, Weta has their own skills, which are world class, which subsequently created large number of things. Of course, the series of the big films that we know that were created there. Subsequently, they created Tintin, King Kong, and many others. And now they're creating Avatar there. So once you actually get the right skilled people, and many people looking at them are getting into this. So thank you, Manvin, a lot. In fact, I will have some of the questions for you in terms of standards of that have been set up, and whether we need to redo these standards every time, because in the creative industry, when people talk about specific standards in terms of the hardcore production areas like the car manufacturing or tool manufacturing or any of these, we know where it is, plastic manufacturing or anything. But in creative, every film that gets created sets a new benchmark and a new standard, because not only the creativity is stretched, design is stretched to that level, but also the technology is rewritten to create that film. And I think whether those standards are going to be relevant is something that we need to discuss. So I'm going to come back to you with that question. Before I go to Munjal now, Munjal and me have worked very closely for the last 2.5 decades, and it's been a great pleasure working together, because Munjal has worn various hats. He has not only done service for animation, service for visual effects, but has created many ad films. And one of the biggest benefits that Munjal had is the father of Indian animation was his guru, and he was directly working under Ram Mohan Sir. So he had a lot of learning in terms of quality and productivity and setting these standards up, and then a whole lot of contribution into VR Entertainment Skill Council. So Munjal, in fact, while you do this, I would like you to cover what does it take in terms of quality and productivity, in terms of providing services for delivering global projects. But we are doing a lot of indigenous productions now, and many Indian channels do, but they are under the pressure of the budgets. In given budgets, what is redefining the quality and productivity? So if you can compare both of them would be really good, so that we can actually make the right policy framework for us.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Ashish, and I'm really grateful for the ministry to actually, trigger this entire conversation around quality. I think it's about time, and in a way, I think the fact that today we are gathered, to have a discussion around quality itself speaks about a certain maturity in the industry. So I want to take a step back and cite a particular example, and look, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the electronics industry. Look at China today, for example, right? China manufactures, or probably is one of the largest manufacturers for Apple devices. And globally, Apple devices are known for their quality. Okay. Yet at the same time, the reputation of China today, when you think about it, is not very great when it comes to electronics. I mean, say it's a Chinese product, and it doesn't mean it's quality. But if you look at Japan, and if you say that, yes, that's made in Japan, it's a stamp of quality. It doesn't matter. It's been manufactured in Japan. It carries a certain benchmark.
Munjal, we are missing you in between. So if you can be closer to your mic, it will be much better.
Yeah. Is this better, Ashish?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So I was saying that, basically just trying to look at the electronics industry. And if you look at China today, actually manufactures, all the or majority of the Apple devices, which are known for their quality, right? But China per se is not known for their quality overall. So when I say that, in fact, today when we say it's a Chinese product, what we are talking about is cheap quality, Whereas if you compare that to Japan, and if you say it's a made in Japan product, you instantly know that if it's an electronics coming out of Japan, it's great quality. And I think this is an example that, how we can be the Japan in the AVGC industry, how India can set that benchmark, of quality. I think delivering quality, that's a given. I think Jayesh and Manavendra, in both in gaming and VFX, you're seeing enough examples of that. Even in animation, Ashish, you work with majors in the past. We are doing work for the majors here. I think it's about standardizing those processes. I think today the gap between the studios in India at the top end and at the bottom end, that gap is too big. I think we need to narrow that gap. So ensure that even the smaller studios or new entrants in the industry will deliver a certain minimum benchmark of quality, and that in turn will raise the bar for the entire industry. And I think that's where one of the very, very critical aspects is standardization of processes. And I think when you standardize your processes, then you know that you can deliver consistent quality. I think Jayesh spoke his experience, and I think that's what experience does, that you polish and you polish and you polish till it shines, right? And that's what experience gets you, that how do you ensure that you keep finishing it, keep finishing a particular product till it really, really becomes good. But how do you inculcate that as a part of the culture, basically, so that, even the very first pass of animation, for example, when it comes out, it is good, and then you are working towards making it great, And I think that is a function of your production processes. I think one of the things that, having worked under Mr. Rammo, and I've been very fortunate to have a guru like him. And, right from a very early time when right from the very first film I worked under him, I could instinctively see that, it was always about, make sure that your very first pass is great, and then you go and speak to Mr. Raman and he will just make that great to phenomenal, And I think that is one very critical aspect. And I think that is where I think as an industry, we need to share best practices, forums, we need to talk about what is the best practice today for a particular task of production, be it storyboarding, be it character design, be it mocap, be it, visual effects, whatever aspect of production that you're dealing with. So that's, I think, one particular aspect that I think we should look at is standardization of processes. Number two, I think, again, what is going to be very, very vital here is standards in training. And I think this is where, MESC is doing some great work. Ashish, you, Manavendra, me, we've been serving on the council. I think the task, there is to ensure that whatever work has been put in by MESC is now accepted by the industry. And not just by training institutes, but also universities, So again, we have a common bar. When we talk about a national occupation standard, whether it's an animation or gaming, we know that someone with a bachelor's degree, when he graduates, he's employable. Why? Because it needs a particular occupation standard. We know that the courses are achieving certain qualifying packs, so that the student graduating is employable. I think that's one of the key factors. We are training by lakhs, I think, but the question always eventually comes down to, are we ready, or is that person ready to get onto the production floor? More often than not, we've seen that, like, in the past, we've seen people prefer taking raw talent and grooming them. I think what we need to do is that what is it that we are doing in studios, right, which make these students, come from a absolute raw background, and then we make them production ready in about 6 months or a year. I think it's about passing on that, codifying that, and bringing it to the training institutions. So I think, again, more closer integration between studios and training institutions is needed. I think that mentoring, and I think, again, codifying that mentoring. How can we, like Vidyadhan is a great initiative, I think, that MESC is doing, which is pretty phenomenal. So again, we need more of that, right? So again, so that's another aspect, and again, another thing that I really feel is very, very critical is the top management. I think we are delivering services, we are delivering quality, right? But are we creating quality products, and are we creating quality products for a global market? And I think that's where, how do we groom that next level of creators? How do we get more Jayesh's? How do we get more Manavendras? People who come with that 15, 20 years of experience, how can they pass on their skills, so that they become leaders, they become producers, they become research and development heads, to come up with their own products. I think, like someone mentioned, that we are the backroom boys for a lot of the R&D facilities for the global majors, right? I'm saying, why can't we be producing and doing our own R&D and setting up our own software pipelines and creating our own software? I think with open source, that's a huge opportunity again. I think so. We are seeing a trend that a lot of the industry is moving towards open source. So that's again an opportunity that I think we should be looking at. Third thing, is again, Ashish, coming to local content. I know that this is something that you and I have always strived for, is that how can we create content for the global market? And I'm very happy to share that, we've been doing that. We've licensed our shows to Netflix, we've licensed our shows to Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon, not just in India, even outside India, which has been greenlit for a major original, with a major OTT platform and one of the major toy players, The key factor here is that what I find is that particularly with the local channels, I think we are too local in our approach at times, and therefore the products that we create, the shows that we create, yes, they do a great job of servicing our local demand, but then they don't meet the production quality or benchmarks of the shows that you see in the global market. And I think that's a lost opportunity, because very, very often, we have great stories, we have great characters, but because the production quality is not up there, your shows don't sell, and I think it's a major loss of revenue potential. And I think this is where some amount of, ensuring that a quality product is created needs to be looked at. And I think, again, here, I think there's a role for government to step in. And I think someone like a Doordarshan Kids, for example, if it's set up as a channel, and again, Doordarshan Kids today can potentially tie up with the BBC Kids, and look at a co-production, a truly global co-production, and create world-class benchmarks for content, And I think once we see a few examples of that, I think very quickly, even the private broadcasters like Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon, and some of the others would take cue from that and say, yes, this is possible, this is doable, that we can create a product which will work in India and which will also work for the global. I mean, look at Japan, right? I mean, Japan has been doing it for years, right? So I don't see any reason why we can't do it, And, finally, I think, again, the other aspect is that once we are able to set some of these things in terms of standardizing our processes, standardizing our training, I think the other critical aspect is to go and tell the world, and I think promote brand India and consistently promote brand India. I think what we miss out is that consistency. We go to a market for 1 year and then we vanish for the next 5 years. And I think this is where the government has a role to play, is that look at countries like Canada and Singapore and Korea, right? Canada has a booth at MIPCOM every year and it's been there. People know where it is. People, know that they will find them there. For that matter, even Korea, Korea, Coca is doing a fascinating job, on every major market they're there. I think it's not about attending 20 markets, but attending 5 key markets, but making sure we are always there, and then telling the world that, hey, look, we deliver world-class quality. And I think the other thing is an enabler there, again, is on the co-production side, is that when you work, I think Manvendra also spoke about this, even Jay spoke about this, when you work with experienced talent globally, right? And when your people work shoulder to shoulder with them, a lot of
We
that.
We lost you, Munjal.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that a lot of the work that we're talking about in terms of global quality, when you co-produce shows with some of your international partners and when your teams work shoulder to shoulder, right? That's when they imbibe the culture. That's where they imbibe best practices, right? And I think in a way, if you see that the co-production treaties really in a way enable that. I mean, that these are one of the soft benefits, when you look at it. It's not only just the monetary benefit or being able to participate in larger co-productions, but they also give this opportunity to play on a much larger scale, to create content for a much more global market. And I think these are things that we need to focus on. And here again, obviously this is more a policy issue from an MIB, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, but implementation of some of these co-production treaties. Moment we start doing that, moment we start participating in quality products which are produced for the global market, the world will know that yes, that this is happening already in India.
Yeah, Munjal, you brought in two very pertinent points about a public broadcaster like Doordarshan Kids to be created. And, it would definitely enhance the quality because any producer or any creator of content in the same geography has an opportunity to sell the content or license the content to the pay TV and the public broadcaster at the same time. In the absence of the public broadcaster, the pressure of creation in the lower budget is very high, and that's why the quality suffers. So as a strategy, having a public broadcaster support with maybe 50% of production budgets taken care of would definitely enhance the quality, and I think that is going to be of a great use. A second important thing that you brought in about the consistency in the marketplace and building brand India. That's, of course, SEPC has been actually doing for the last few years, and I think we need to do that more. And the third important factor that you really talked about is co-production. I have very pertinent questions on co-production because your quality and productivity both can improve drastically if you're doing co-productions because you're sharing with the production pipeline with the best in the world. And that's where you have a lot more learning. And I think it's coming down to how we work together with the best of the talent. So thanks very much. I'll come back to you with the co-production question. But before we move forward, I would like to tell you that we have a person who has actually done it 360, right from education to the studios to the productions and everything, and almost created a cluster in the north of India where people earlier didn't know that there is a film industry existing. And a man who actually been there consistently year after year, built not only the skills, but also the great facilities and shows. And I had an opportunity to do a children film contest in his studio with Nehru Balsang. And I think that was an amazing experience we had. So over to you, Sandeep ji. Please enlighten us on how do we really approach this quality and productivity.
Thank you, Ashish. What a pleasure to be here on this beautiful platform with so many dignities from the industry. Wow, my day is made. Basically, I'm a learner and I keep on listening and learn a lot. Let me first divide the whole affair into three. कि रास्तों की दिलकशी अपनी जगह चलने वालों की भी मर्जी चाहिए यूं तो महफिल में हम पढ़ते रहे सुनने वालों की भी मर्जी चाहिए लाख आंसू इश्क भी रोए तो क्या आसमानों की भी मर्जी चाहिए. What I'm trying to say, see, it's very important to have the willingness and the ability of the people right from the industry, number one. Number two, it's very important to know the choice, demand, requirements of the masses, of the people, of the customer. And third, it's very important that government should support the whole affair. Then only things can move forward. This is India. Let me tell you. Now, coming back to my small contribution, I mean, when I used to attend these kind of webinars 30 years back, that motivated me, induced me to think differently. And I'm happy that I could create a small setup of Noida Film City. I was almost declared a madman when I submitted this project to Noida Authority. People were shocked that he's a film buff and probably he's talking something film illiteracy. Well, the fact is, it got its clearance, 80 86 I submitted, 87 it got its clearance, 88 allotments were made, and 91 we started with Noida Film City, the first professional studio of North India, Marva Studios. And trust me, no looking back. Now I'm very happy that Noida Film City is the fastest growing film city in the world. It's a 100-acre complex, 75 acres outdoor, 25 acres indoor, 16 studios, and out of 16 studios, 350 channels are being broadcast to 162 countries, 24/7. There are about 17,000 media professionals. They're working in Film City, and more than 100,000 people, they have been able to earn their bread because of this Film City. When it comes to Marva Studios, in a span of all these 30 years, we have churned out something like 4,500 television programs for more than 50 channels. We have been associated with around about 100 feature films, and we made something like 5,000 training films, and my production company has made around about 2,900 short films. In 2 years' time, I realized that the whole paraphernalia may not go waste if there is not going to be a manpower to work in the studios. So we started the 4th film school of the country and the first private film school of this country, second in the north. And so far, in all these 27 years, we have churned out around 19,000 media professionals hailing from all the 28 states, 9 union territories, and 145 countries of the world. So I'm very happy that we've been able to maintain an international standard as far as work is concerned, be it a film television production or education and training. So this whole thing has helped me in understanding the industry very well. I've been a hardcore worker, and I've been involved in most of the projects on a one or other capacity, sometime designer, sometime production controller, sometime manager, sometime studio owner, and. Now, the fact is that the most important thing, which I'm still suffering, which everyone has to be a part of it and understand, that it's very important to develop a mindset. For the mindset of the public is clear in all these 35 years. I think I'm very happy that mindset of people is ready, but the mindset of the government, I mean, even if today, if you want to invite a government official, if you want to talk to government official, if you want him or her to be a part of any film television business, they are reluctant. They are very suddenly become conscious about the whole affair, and most of the times you hear no. Now, this is a very important thing. The whole country has to be very proud of this industry. I mean, see, Americans, they're so proud of their Hollywood. We are the largest film producing country in the world, 6 million directly and 4 million indirectly. I mean, 1 crore people are working in this industry. And why people are so hesitant to adapt this as their own? So very important thing for all of us, all the 3 segments, that we must and we all should be proud of this industry and see the results. Things will start moving absolutely in a positive direction. The second very important thing, what I personally need while working all these 30 years, it's the courtesy is required. Courtesy is still missing from every department, be it a government or a private. I'm very happy that Green India, Clean India, Shresth Bharat, Shisht Bharat, Digital India, all these things have brought a lot of awareness into the country, and government is doing, I think, to its best to bring in change into the minds of this people of this country. But I think that's what is more required in this industry. One wrong deal, one discourteous language can spoil your production, your whole setup. A foreign unit can just go back without even thinking second time. I'm not putting up examples there because of short of time. Third very important thing which I have realized is it's very important to have a national level and state level awards, which are still missing. Imagine 1/6 of the world stays here and 1 crore people are working in this industry. Probably there are very few appreciations by government. Fortunately or unfortunately, ample has come in the private sector, but mindset again, even a filmmaker who's only working for the private industry, like film and TV, they also expect some kind of an appreciation from government, and which is definitely going to motivate large number of people. So we have to have some more national awards, some more state level awards, which should come up, and they should highlight these all creative people who've been actually shedding their blood and sweat to make one production. I mean, unless and until you make a production, unless until you get into this business, you just cannot imagine the kind of efforts someone is putting in just producing a film or a television production, mind you. And then there was a need of a chamber, dedicated chamber. And I'm very happy that I have taken that responsibility now. And we have created International Chamber of Media and Entertainment Industry. This is the first dedicated chamber in the world for media and entertainment industry. We have created 543 national committees and 192 international committees. We're working very hard on this chamber, and I'm very happy with the progress. The chamber is directly supporting Prime Minister's vision of having best of the relation possible with each and every country of the world through art and culture. So this one job I have taken. Then obviously a country which is producing largest number of films, 950 channels. Imagine, I mean, if we are only talking about visual media, imagine we need to have one university for it. Our Prime Minister, when he was in Mumbai addressing the whole fraternity of film and television, he uttered a word that we must have a university, a film university. And I'm just wanted to inform the House that responsibility I have taken, and we have actually started a 25 acres university in Raipur, right into the center of the country, and it is functional now. It is second year which is on. The university is on, and this has become the first film university of the country. The one major thing which I would also like to add, and just now has been also said, that a continuous propagating about film, television, and media business in this country. Very important. We are so lucky that we are producing so many films in almost 28 official language of this country. And this is, nobody's beating the drums. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody is taking the responsibility, and not even at an individual level, and not at an association level, and not even at a government level. So I think this is very important that Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Ministry of Tourism, together when they advertise, they must also highlight our high commissions and embassies abroad. They must also talk about our film and television business. They must highlight it. They must feel happy. They must have a special counter or a posters or a pictures or a display in their offices, so that large number of people all over the world should know that there is a film industry exists in India to that scale. I mean, whenever I have actually talked to anyone on a very personal level, suddenly they have put me into a very important category because I'm a part of Indian film industry. And this is the kind of a response you get when you talk to a foreigner about Indian films. So I think let government also feel a little more proud and highlight it in a much, much better and a organized way. It'll be a great comfort for the industry. Then obviously, I'm very happy that the government has started BIS. In BIS, we have started Upgradation Committee, which is the ultimate, I must tell you, which has started doing very well. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sandeep ji, in fact, I have few questions for you. So if you can actually let me know when can I ask the question, because we are left with the last half hour. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the last, so probably. Yeah.
No, we have two more speakers to go. That's why.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, please ask me a question.
Yeah. So my question to you is that you almost formed a kind of a cluster in Noida, and I think that's a very powerful cluster. I've been coming there for the last 25-30 years, but I wanted to know whether the productivity with the cluster formation really goes up, because people are staying there and working there, and I think they save a lot of time, a lot of travel time. And then you have also supplemented it with right kind of institution in terms of upscaling opportunity for them. So whether people are coming for upskilling to constantly look at, they can actually give a much better productivity and much better quality.
Yes, definitely. I mean, like, imagine when we started the studios, it was so difficult to even find a lightman. There was not even one single lightman available in Noida Film City. And I had to take this challenge, and I brought all those people who were keen in actually working on the shooting floor because they were fascinated by the film shooting and all that. And I mean, imagine the boring wala, the bijli wala, the dhobi, and all those people who were in different professions. I brought them into film and television business, taught them how to handle lights, how to do the creative lighting. Then I brought an expert from Bombay who was a lighting expert, got them trained in a very organized manner, and created something like 20 to 30 lightmen for the whole film city, not only for my own studios. And I'm happy that they were all working in Film City in all these initial 6, then 12, and then 16 studios. And that's how we got into the business. And likewise, when Doordarshan staff, I mean, they used to come to our studios and they used to find our way of working absolutely different from the way they've been actually working in Doordarshan for 20 years. So they were amazed. So I took special classes with the staff of Doordarshan and also gave them orientation on fiction programs and on news and current programs, that they can always change the pattern, style, and mode of lightings and things like, and be more creative in their programs than only putting a flat lighting on their bricks. So we worked even on that level, to a level when students from 145 countries been enrolled in all these years, and they don't work in India, mind you. They go back and they work in their own countries, which gives us ample confidence that what has been taught into these institution classes, into these training setups, is absolutely eligible and up to date and state of art in their own countries. Also, not only developing, but mind you, developed countries like European, America, Japan, and Singapore, and things like that. So that has given us enough confidence that we are on the right track. And trust me, this is an unending exercise. You have to keep on adding new equipment. You have to keep on adding new exercises. You have to add on a different kind of training setup and ample practical, mind you, ample practical. Yes. Yes, Ashish.
Ashish sir, you are on mute.
So Sandeep ji, let me congratulate on you on the International Chamber of Media and Entertainment, as well as forming the dedicated film university. And I think most of our aspirations of research and many other things would get fulfilled. Moving on to the next person today, a large amount of productivity is definitely dependent upon what kind of platform of technology are you using, whether you are removing the all the duplication that is there in the production, and if that duplication is automized, you can actually definitely not only concentrate on creating better quality, but your productivity can be super high. And I think that's one of the companies that actually show us the way, not only for film production, not only for gaming, but also for creating animation productions, visual effects, and even live action productions. So Samir, if you can switch on your video and we can hear from you as to how the productivity and quality can be created, what needs to be done. Of course, you have created a platform which is unique, and all the studios today cannot do without your platform. Over to you, Samir.
Thank you, Ashish. And again, a privilege to be amongst all of you. I hope I'm audible, and it seems like my sync is a little loud, but as long as that's fine. So, and thanks to Gaurav to mentioning and my name for the panel. I think our journey sort of as Epic began close to about 30 years ago. At that point of time, technology has been something that in terms of real-time rendering has been limited by what GPUs were capable of. But over the last 5 to 10 years, with the advances in GPUs, Epic has really pushed the ability for creating high quality games for close to about 29 years. Interestingly, the same technology that was used to create games over the last 15 years was being used in defense to create simulations, was being used in a variety of other things, including medical visualizations as well as corporate visualizations. But over the last 5 years, as GPUs became even better and we began to release engine capabilities where in computer graphics, those were unheard of. Like, for example, real-time ray tracing was a distant dream. And that's caused, a whole new industry like film and entertainment to discover it. And the boundaries blurring between what is capable in a film and what is capable in gaming, because essentially people inhabit stories, whether you are seeing it in 25 frames per second or you're playing it in 60 frames per second. And I think that's really what has caused the big boom of a variety of industries, and especially film and entertainment, using Unreal Engine as the core technology, either as a pivotal part of their pipeline or rendering final pixel inside of that. We are seeing that increasingly with what happened with Game of Thrones, where large segments of war as well as heavy special effects were all first prevised inside of Unreal Engine, right up to Mandalorian, where final pixel was done. And now a whole new sort of realm of production, which is virtual production, where the green screen is being replaced by LED volumes and you're able to author your story inside of that. I think my own sort of interest in this started about close to about 3 to 4 years back. And coincidentally, I started my career as a journalist, reviewing video games at 16. Before, when I was running production, and then we had a whole bunch of shows in Culture Machine, which was my previous company, which I founded with Amazon Prime and others. And I could see clearly that, when it comes to production, the typical idea of how, while line production in the form of live action will never be replaced, I think it will be augmented, because especially with COVID, people are beginning to realize that having big crews moving to different places, you can actually, if you have to shoot in Iceland, you can probably simulate that in a nice LED volume somewhere in Noida Film City, or whether it's in Goregaon Film City. So a large part of our focus now is working with many of you on the panel in order to enable you all to push the engine. And I think the interesting part is, for the first time, I feel that there is access to technology, because the way Epic looks at building the ecosystem is Unreal Engine is given away for free, but even the ecosystem around it, whether it's Quixel, whether it's Unreal Marketplace, large elements of that are given away for free as well. So for the first time, because of the learning curves involved, it's actually democratized in terms of technology. You can, at similar budgets, create stuff which could be world class. We have seen that in some of my colleagues in Australia have done, short film contests using Unreal, where you have folks like from ILM as well as students. And you can see that the quality of the material coming out is incredible, because, no longer are you limited by, the access to large teams with large production budgets. You can, if you're in your bedroom, if you have a good quality machine, actually produce really high quality product without having to, spend a lot of money and time doing it. So there's truly a democratization of what Hollywood is capable of doing, where we're seeing a lot of those pipelines now beginning to emerge in a variety of shops in India, right from traditional VFX shops to shops which are being specialized in game design in terms of game artwork, like what Mr. Manvendra and others are doing here. So in summary, I feel that virtual production is something that's incredibly interesting. It's causing pipelines to in many ways become a lot more efficient, quality to become a lot more higher, because creators have a lot more control. And secondly, I feel it's for the first time you're seeing people who used to be in post no longer waiting for the frames to come to them to finish it off. They're actually part of the creative process. So it's actually made them brought them ahead in the creative cycle and made them on par with a lot of the other talent which was in production design, which be in unison with the director's vision. So they're no longer just sitting in the back room. They're actually on sets and they're actually shooting along with the directors because of the nature of the agile nature of production. So yeah, I think a large part of our focus here is to work deeply with the animation industry, work deeply with the live action industry, and work deeply with sort of the ecosystem to set up virtual production studios here. We are keenly exploring how we can work with partners to not just partner on studio space, but also partner on talent. And it's happy to note that some of the country's best directors and the biggest film houses are moving all the pipelines for the next features, as well as some of the world's largest OTTs are now looking at how they can bring that to India. Exciting times, I think, as with any new technology. And more importantly, I feel because in a country like India, there is no barrier given that it's free. So, we are quite curious to see how we can grow with the local talent here.
Yeah, Samir, extremely good. I don't know whether somebody told you or not. You have an amazing character voice. And at some point in time, we should explore your character voice to animated characters. So that can definitely, give a great insights to the character and amazing personality to the character. Your voice is really good. I want to know, what are you guys doing to really educate most of the studios to see how they can move on to the engine that you have created, which actually is going to help them, speed up their productions. Yeah.
So, Ashish, first is, we've trained close to about 750. We've been around only for about 12 months. Quentin joined, about 12 months back, and now I've kind of taken over the region as he's moved to look at other regions around the world. So, a large part of what we've done is we've trained close to about 750 odd people across 22 firms. And these are diverse firms. A lot of them are mostly in media and entertainment. And now we are beginning to train a lot of other companies in the region, including in India, in animation. In animation, I think a lot of the things which companies which are used to old traditional pipelines, some of those features have only recently released. We've done a lot of work with the Weta to push our hair and fur shaders and to push a lot of the kind of technology qualities fully in engine. So one thing which we realize in India is that the capex cycles, especially during COVID, are quite a pain for companies, right? They don't really have the ability to go and spend on high quality gaming machines. Most VFX companies tend to have machines that are heavy on CPUs than GPUs. So one of the few innovations we did was we moved very aggressively to the cloud in India and began to train people on the cloud. So even if you don't have access to high quality machines locally, we kind of stitched up deals. I joined in about September. By I think October, November, we stitched up deals with some of the top 2 cloud manufacturers in India and began to host Unreal there. So even with low quality machines, people around the country, regardless of the geography, as long as they had access to a decent machine and a good quality internet connection, they were able to get trained by our authorized trainers online and for free. So, it's close to about 80 hours of training is what we offer for free. And we're already seeing a lot of that sort of emerge and percolate back into the traditional industry and actually work towards changing pipelines. The second thing which we did, and that is ongoing. So in fact, we want to popularize a lot more. I think we have a target internally that by sometime in the next quarter of this year, we want to have always on training on the cloud. So, whoever you are, if you're a student, you will actually have live training available from Epic, and you'll be able to, boot up your machine. And if you don't have the money to buy a good quality GPU, you will be able to, log on to anything via, a simple client or a browser and actually begin to learn how to use Unreal. The second thing which we did was we catalyzed the Unreal Fellows program in India. So the Unreal Fellows program is a specialized program where you actually get paid. If you're a VFX supervisor or a VFX producer, you get paid by us to be a part of a 1-month boot camp where you have the world's best talent inside of Unreal and outside of that, teaching you. And the goal is at the end of that 1 month boot camp, you become you basically use the engine to tell a story. So that's, we have had the privilege of having now close to about 8 fellows from India. So we have Srinivas Mohan, who worked on Bahubali. We've had, Vani, who's been, a veteran in the industry. We have Vishal Anand from VFX. So we obviously have folks from Anibrain as well, in fact, who have been there. So, it's incredible to see the quality of talent which is coming out of India, and more importantly, putting them through the fellows program so that we have that DNA in various organizations here. So those are the two things, I think on the high end, we're looking at the fellows program continuing, and on the mid end, where people who are either looking to get trained, we're bringing people in through our cloud-based live training, which is specially made free for our region.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Samir. In fact, we have been in touch with your education team. They recently were in Pune. We had a great meeting, and we are actually integrating that with a Media and Entertainment Skill Council and introducing them to the studios as well. Going to Vikram, Vikram, you had a long wait. And, the thing is, you have a lot of onus on you to really make sure that any person who comes for film facilitation, you actually guide them to the right standards. So I would like, while you cover your part, I would like to you to cover a few critical things about what skills that India has, and how do you look at the right kind of productivity and the quality when you go to multi-locations in India, because India is a very unique country, and it's a country where there are multiple ecosystems of film and television and animation and visual effects and gaming production. We have as many as about 10 to 11 cities which have huge amount of clusters of these talent. So it makes it more difficult for you to see where to guide people to go, except for the location is particular, you can guide, but rest of the places, how do you really see that positioning happening? If you can cover this while you're speaking, it would be great. You're muted. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Ashish, and my gratitude to the Department of Commerce and FICCI for having me on this panel and for letting me represent NFDC. When you talk about productivity and quality, and when one sees the evolution of the film sector, one would understand that it requires not only sophisticated policy making, not only an understanding of how the industry dynamics work, but also that of collaboration. And I think that is where the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, has made a very strategic initiative and a very strategic intervention through the National Film Development Corporation. And I must say that the depth of understanding that the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has brought onto the table of the industry is that it understands both the supply side as well as the demand side. Productivity and quality would not have its impact while the industry does its micro aspects. There's the macro aspect of productivity and quality, and that macro aspect is capacity building, which translates to skills. The NFDC has been at the forefront of this initiative, be it in the south of India, be it in the north of India, be it across India, where serious initiatives have been taken in alliances with a lot of government institutions, with state governments on capacity building across the value chain. When I look at ease of doing business, that's another big supply side intervention from the Ministry of Information Broadcasting, and I will talk about this later because this is something that we look at. If you look at the demand side, there's a very big demand side intervention that has been made through the NFDC, and that is market access. While we talk to you, the NFDC Film Bazaar is on, and Ashish, you've been on a panel on that, where a market access, a global market access is being created for Indian filmmakers across formats who are in Indian. So we're actually being very vocal about local, and I think that's a big step in the Atmanirbharta campaign that is on. So therefore, you will understand that productivity and quality, and now how does this translate? So while it's building capacity, while it's the ease of doing business on the supply side, market access on the demand side, how does it translate? And out here, I'll focus on the question that you asked me, the ease of doing business. Before that, let me give you a little overview of the Film Facilitation Office. A strategic intervention was made in 2015 of December, and which started operating in 2016 of January, which is the Film Facilitation Office, which was housed and operated by the NFDC. But the agenda was three. The mandate was three. One was, you bring in an additionality component, which is so important, which is that the production expenditure that otherwise would not have come into India actually comes into India, and Dilipji talked about this. The second, of course, is the overall ease of filming. And the third is you take a long-term view of positioning and promoting India as a preferred destination. On a lighter vein, whenever we talk about the FFO and we talk about our web portal, which is www.ffo.gov.in, which is basically, we tell filmmakers, when you come to India, you're actually coming home to your imagination. You're allowing the ignition. You're allowing every genre that you can think of, that you can narrate, that you can write in your narrative screenplay is present in India. And it's not only the location, but it is also the manpower, and an issue that you talked about. And while all the speakers have talked about the manpower in this sector, I won't take any more time on that. But that manpower translates down to post-production, VFX, animation, gaming, which all of you have spoken about. So it's the filmic resources, it is the locations, and the ease of doing business and overall proactiveness that goes into building productivity and quality when we kind of deliver.
Vikram?
Yes?
Yeah, Vikram, we lost you in between. We just lost you in between.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I'll repeat that. What I was saying is that a strategic intervention in the ease of doing business was made in 2015, which started operating in 2016, which is called the Film Facilitation Office. The mandate was very clear. Ease of doing business, quick turnaround times, both for international filmmakers who want to shoot in India, quick turnaround times for domestic filmmakers who wish to shoot in India, so that there are no runaway productions that are happening, that they're not going to any international locales, they're staying in India. A window into a single repository, a single clearinghouse of information, which is the www.ffo.gov.in, which gives you information not only about filmic resources, but for example, we have the list of line producers who have worked on 2 or more international films on our website. We have, thanks to Fiki, we've been able to tie in with them and get the list of all the post-production houses and VFX and animation, which keeps getting updated. So any information that you want for filming, any clearance that you want for filming at a national level, at a domestic level, are all facilitated, cleared by the Film Facilitation Office. Now let me come in, and I would request each one of you here on the panel and those who are listening to us to visit the www.ffo.gov.in. This is a facility created by the Ministry of Information Broadcasting, operated by the NFDC to ease your filming requirements. And trust me, we are confident that we'll be able to deliver quality service. Our turnarounds are pretty good. Coming to a question that you asked, when you look at any international filmmaker who comes here, it's not just the location that brings him here. It's also the fact that he feels that that India has so much to offer to him. It's the aroma, the music, the noise, the surround sound, the locations, everything that makes India such a cultural melting pot. The people, the culture, the language, And how do you translate that? And that translation comes from proactiveness. So let me list out to you as to what we've done to make the system transferable, to make the system translatable in terms of productivity. First of all, we've created an ecosystem of nodal officers. Anywhere you want to film in India, you have a nodal officer who is represented from that particular state. There are 36 states and union territories, and each state or union territory has a nodal officer. This nodal officer, you can have direct access to it. We've democratized the entire filmmaking process. You can reach out to him, come to our web portal, his email ID, contact numbers, the state that he belongs to, the filming policy of that state, the incentive that that state has to offer is given to you. We've also been able to, once you register on our site as a filmmaker, he or she has direct access to you. So there is no third-party involvement. You don't need it. It's a one-on-one access that we've given the filmmaker and the state nodal officer and say, this is all about collaboration. And I think productivity comes from that. Engagement with the states. We're continuously engaging with these nodal officers through workshops. In 2020, in the very beginning, under the aegis of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, NFDC was able to do a very big workshop with all these state nodal officers. And we spoke about our priority. We understood where they were. We talked about the requirement of a film set. We talked about the requirement of easing filming on the ground. It's not just permission, but also being there, supporting that vision. You know, we stressed on the fact that filmmakers or animation houses or production houses or studios are like MSMEs. You know, they're micro, small, medium enterprises. And we must deal with them from that perspective. Time is money. There's an issue of profitability. If clearances are not given in time, if proactiveness is not built, if sensitization of the government process doesn't happen in time, it costs money. So therefore, this understanding has today enabled the state governments to go digital. They're also going online. The entire Digital India campaign is now happening in the right direction. So, you know, be it Maharashtra, be it Uttarakhand, be it Haryana, be it the government of Karnataka, they're all getting digital and we're integrating with them. You know, thanks again to the guidance that we're getting from our key stakeholder, the ministry, we're able to integrate, and online integrations hopefully will happen with all 30. That's our vision, to integrate with all 36 of the state and union territories. Filming in monuments is so important. You know, heritage sites have always been popular destinations. And I'm happy to say that thanks to our support, both from the Ministry of Culture and the Archaeological Survey of India, we've been able to integrate with them. Today, you can come into the FFO site, you can create your own account, a dashboard, and we will help you film in any site in the ASI. The integration is online, the integration is offline. The integration has truly been in terms of a shared vision. We're doing the same thing with the railways. With the Ministry of External Affairs, we've been able to integrate with them so that, you know, there's a film visa, which is a unique instrument that allows you to come in and ease of accessing India when international filmmakers come in and shoot. 1,100 film visas have been given in the last, from around 2016. Today, 120 odd Indian missions have a nodal officer who is responsible for a quick turnaround of issuance of a film visa. The film visa has further been modified to include web series. It has been modified to enable location recce. So again, this is another ease of, you know, kind of actually taking you to those locations. You sell a location, but then you're able to take them to that location because you're easing the whole process of getting you to India. I would like to talk about the fact that, you know, we've been able to identify stakeholders. We've been able to identify stakeholders at a macro level. So the ASI, the railways, the Animal Welfare Board of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, so on and so forth, the DGCA. We've been able to identify stakeholders at a micro level. So if it's a state, I'll give you an example of a movie that Dilip ji mentioned, which is Tenet. And I was reading an email where I saw that we've actually dealt with 11 stakeholders. 11 stakeholders who had ownership of various jurisdictions. You must also understand that today that the strategic intervention of from a terms of productivity and quality has also meant that my director of films, who is also the managing director of NFDC, is available to me on a 24/7. My joint secretary is available to me on a 24/7. The secretary, the honorable minister, the entire value chain, the entire right from the desk to the topmost, senior-most officer in the Ministry of Information Broadcasting walks the same language. And that's great empowerment for us. That's great support for all of us at the FFO, at the NFDC, to go out and create this ecosystem, this film-friendly ecosystem. And, we see it in a national award, which recognizes the most film-friendly state. So imagine the environment or the ecosystem, the filming ecosystem, Ashish, that has been created on the two pillars of productivity and quality. And the deliverable, I can, even read out an example of what we've done with A Suitable Boy, which recently shot in Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Maharashtra. So you had 3 state governments, you had a producer, and very early conversations with the Film Facilitation Office. So the Film Facilitation Office was able to brief the Ministry of I&B, get its support, get its guidance, go to the states, brief the states, through VCs, through one-on-one engagements, through letters which have gone out. Several letters have gone out from the ministry at various levels. They've been addressed to the chief minister, they've been addressed to the chief secretaries, they've been at a one-on-one level. So you can imagine the bulwark, you can imagine the force multiplier that has gone in to create multidimensional conversations, multilateral conversations, engagements. I mean, I must also, say that today, thanks to an exercise that Sangeeta ji got us to do, we're now mapping districts, and we can tell you which district is film friendly. We're able to see how many films, international films that have come into India, have shot in which districts. And this data is now going back to the state nodal officers and telling them, guys, this is the way we are mapping you. Why don't you use this information to generate further quality parameters? You'll be happy to know that the most film-friendly state award, the kind of parameters that are there, ensure that there's a quality involvement. The jury, when it sits, is actually analyzing state governments. How soon do you pick up your phone? How soon do you respond? How soon are you able to give that incentive? How quickly are you able to kind of, turn around things? On a promotion basis, I mean, be it Cannes, be it all the global markets, from AFM to Busan, all the global markets where filmmakers come in and have conversations, the Ministry of I&B has created an India Pavilion. And that pavilion has given us a window to, again, not only showcase the Indian film industry, but also to tell them that there is a very proactive mechanism that is on ground, that will translate into quality, which is in time, in budget, and of quality. And that is something that we guarantee. And I'm sure that, this endeavor will keep coming in with a lot of enthusiasm from all of you, with a lot of support, also from our industry stakeholders. And, I can just say that we need your support. We need your support and to kind of move this game on.
Yeah, Vikram, thanks so much. Very well covered. In fact, we could see that passion of that push, but it will be unfair if I don't ask this question to Dilip sir. Dilip sir, if you can unmute yourself. We spoke about all the verticals, but one vertical where, India is really good at is creating music and also the sound design. What kind of quality and productivity is promoted in this sphere? If you can answer, and even Hirachand ji can throw light whether we are promoting the sound design and the music from India as a service.
Yeah, I mean, music, as you see, Mr. A.R. Rahman is the biggest example of music contribution to the international films. They have won Oscars for Slumdog. We which influenced national music. hear me?
So you can come closer to the mic because we are unable to hear you.
I said the biggest example for music contribution in music is Mr. A.R. Rahman. He contributed so well for this field that we got Oscars for music. Also, the on location in music recording is our people Oscars for that. So a lot of international films are using Indian in the film, but larger films are shooting in multinational location stuff. They tend to use all international codes, but our musicians are contributing with the international filmmakers.
Yeah, Hirachandji, if you...
Ashish, our music is promoted in a very big way, keeping in mind our Indian audience. But in recent last 10 years, our Punjabi music is so much popular in overseas that lot of other than Indians are listening the music, and the producers, of course, they are promoting the music, and music companies are promoting the music. And music is very important. It plays very important role in the movies. So music is very well promoted. Now the question is that whether we can take it to the greater height. Yes, there was a film called Tal by Subhas Ghai. The music of Tal had become very popular in Mexico and Brazil. Now, if this kind of films, music or other musics are promoted in the international market, Indian music can become very popular.
Thank you very much, Hirachandji. In fact, I would request all the panelists to, because we have a lack of time, I wanted to actually discuss a few more things with you. But a very humble request from me, if you can actually list down at least 2 or 3 areas where the government can create standards in your particular verticals, which can actually be a game changer and also help build India brand for its quality and productivity. Please write to Leena at FICCI, and then she will compile it and submit it to Sangeeta ji at the Commerce Ministry. Having said that, I believe we had an extremely great session. We really enjoyed listening to your point of views. Of course, the past experiences are the most important ones, where we actually define the new standards. But what Manvinder said, understanding what is quality is most important. And I think that's the key to everything. And no sooner we start understanding the quality, we would definitely start creating the best quality out of India. And also, India would be known for its productivity as well as the cost effectiveness and the cost arbitrage. But I would like to say here that with a complete ecosystem working very closely with the government and the policy, looking at the creative industries at the whole, because audio and audio visual both fall under the creative industries. I would say that we have so far told a very good story, which was mostly inward-looking story. We have a great opportunity to position ourselves and tell a great India brand story to the world. And as many countries have media and entertainment export within the first 3 or 5 exports out of their country, India has a great potential to actually look at audiovisual exports and audiovisual productions to define the industry parameter amongst the top 1 or 2 or 5 verticals, apart from whatever we do in IT and many other verticals. So having said that, there is a strong story that India can tell, and we all are storytellers in the form of audio visual, and we would help India tell that big story. Over to you into the studios, Rituparna. A big thank you to all panelists and all the listeners who have been patiently listening to the whole thing for 2 hours. And please send your suggestions to Leena at FICCI. And Rituparna, over to you with a big thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni, for steering the deliberation and making the session so quite interactive and interesting. I would also like to extend our gratitude to Director, Department of Commerce, Ms. Sangeeta Saxena, for gracing this event with her presence and setting up the context for the session. I would also like to thank all the illustrious panelists for deliberating on the issues of quality and productivity of this industry. And I would like to inform you that all the suggestions and recommendations have been noted down and taken well. And as Mr. Kulkarni has suggested that if you could all give the recommendations to Saxena ma'am and Leena ma'am, then this would result into creating a compendium of quality-related sectoral recommendations, which will be given to the concerned ministries and departments. And furthermore, I would like to thank all the attendees for being such a fantastic audience. Here, I conclude the session. Goodbye and have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
How do you leave? How do you leave?